So yesterday, Mazino, my dependable co-host, Mazino, wave to the camera. There he is, there he is. He asked me what I thought about the infamous comments by Kemi Badenoch regarding Nigeria. Although I answered his question, but as always, I gave it a longer thought and realized that there is frankly so much to unpack regarding her comments. So, shall we begin? Nothing like a little identity crisis to spice up your morning. Now, if you've been... Slippery fingers, forgive me. If you've been following the news, you've probably heard about the comments. Of course, Mazino runs to my rescue. Thank you, sir. So if you've been following the news, you most likely have heard about the comments made by Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition and leader of the Conservative Party since November 2024. She's the first black person to hold these offices, all right? And she previously served in the cabinet under Liz Truss as well as Rishi Sunak from 2022 to 2024. So Kemi, a woman of Nigerian heritage, is quite accomplished. She was born in Wimbledon, London, and she was raised partly in Lagos. Essentially, she said, look, I am not Nigerian. And everyone and their grandmothers are shocked. They are holding on to their buba and rapa and iro, and Nigerians everywhere from Lagos Island to Peckham are discombobulated, flabbergasted, gum-smoked, confused. Because how can you refuse to be a whole Nigerian with our award-winning jollof rice, our Afrobeats music, fashion, and notoriously coveted, philandering, I beg your pardon, forgive me, benevolent men, hardworking Nigerian men that all the women in the world want. So hardworking that they are sowing their seeds across the world, all the way to Antarctica. Igbo, Kwenu.
Hey!
Hey! But wait, there's more. Vice President Kashim Shettima didn't take her comments well, all right? In fact, he clapped back, calling her comments regrettable and accusing her of distancing herself from a country that shaped her values. And thus began social media debates and comment section battles and radio call-in arguments. One part outrage and one part, well, uncomfortable agreement. So let's talk about that last part, the latter part. You see, what Kemi said isn't exactly new. It's not like she invented the idea of being over Nigeria, because if you listen closely, and I mean really listen, you will find that many Nigerians, both at home and the diaspora, share her sentiments. They talk about the corruption, the broken system, the giant of Africa that sometimes feel like a sleep-deprived toddler. The only difference, most people are conditioned to not say it out loud. Kemi just said the quiet part out loud. She said the thing that you feel but can't vocalize. Yes, now, you, I'm talking to you, yes, you that is preparing for the International English Language Testing System, IELTS. You and your desperate attempt to learn a second language. I know, I've seen your Duolingo app. Comment ça va? Is you. Doing your online training course on data analysis, data analytics, and Scrum, my Scrum Master. Well done, I saw your LinkedIn post. What was your Hallelujah challenge this year? It's a Sunday, so you better don't lie. I know what it is. It's a mock-up design of what looks like a Canadian permanent residency card. Abi? And your prayer point for the Hallelujah Challenge was also pretty much a boarding pass to leave the country for good. It's okay. Don't get me, I'm not judging you. Your desperate need to get out of this country, your discontent and displeasure of this country is thinly veiled under the guise of searching for greener pastures. So Kemi is saying the quiet part out loud. And that's where the problem is. Because as true Nigerians, we can't tell people our business. You can't show strangers your bedroom. You must not show the world where you lie down. It's wrong. The issue here is Kemi didn't exactly use her inside voice and maybe the delivery was a bit, shall we say, unfiltered. I mean, we love drama, but we also hold our pride to our chests. We clench it very tightly to our chests. We can't criticize our country from sun up to sundown, but let an outsider or someone we suddenly decide isn't Nigeria, who suddenly decide isn't Nigerian enough, join in. No now, come on. But here's the thing. Is Kemi's identity really the issue here? Or is it the fact that her words hit a little too close to home? Because when you strip away the politics, the passports, the cultural outrage, her comments boil down to one uncomfortable truth. Nigeria isn't living up to its expectations and potential. And that really hurts. Because, let's face it, Kemi has a very impressive resume that I dare say would have been impossible in this country. She is 43 years old and is the leader of the opposition party and served under 2 prime ministers in very important offices, might I add. Also, what is this our fixation with wanting individuals who are trailblazers with Nigerian heritage to declare their Nigerianness for the world? Every single one became trailblazers because they left Nigeria. Every single one of them. Israel Adesanya, Anthony Joshua, Chabuzi, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and even Sade Adu. The list is endless. They all became trailblazers when they left the country. Why do we need for them to show their Nigerianness? This desperate need for validation. Stop acting like a pick-me in Nigeria. Stand up. Maybe, indeed, instead of debating whether Kemi is Nigerian enough, we should ask ourselves why so many Nigerians, from London Underground to the Third Mainland Bridge, feel this way. Why do people feel the need to leave Nigeria, and they feel the need to distance themselves from it when they go? So don't get me wrong, all right? This isn't me excusing Kemi entirely. Her comments are unsavory, they are blunt, they are sharp. But the outrage can't stop with her words. It has to move us to action. Because Nigeria isn't just a place, it's also a promise that has been broken too many times. So what do? Do we keep pointing fingers, arguing about identity and drafting clapbacks on X, Twitter? Or do we start fixing the things that make so many Nigerians feel the way they feel in the first place? To want to abandon ship boats, figuratively, physically, and even in title. And I'm looking at you, Alhaji Sanusa. Please leave Kemi alone. The people are hungry. Inflation numbers are high. Thank you, sir. Sanusa. Now go there, sir. So at the end of the day, Kemi, whether you claim Nigeria or not, the truth is, Nigeria claims you. Whether you like it or not, we claim you. It's okay. And Kevin, listen, if you're watching, don't worry. We're not mad, okay? To be honest, we're a little mad. But deep down, we get it. Just don't forget the concrete city that formed your formative years. Because my goodness, you may not be a Nigerian, but you are a Lagosian. And a true Lagosian at that. To do what you've been able to do, a true hustler. Lagos! Stand up! But you know, this is the point where you stand up. Or you can't stand up, you're too tall.
Unfortunately, if I do stand up, they'll cut me out. But I just wanted to say, in case they want to see a remix of this, they can find it in your album, which is From London Underground to On Top Third Mainland Bridge.
Ooh, I know, one. That's right.
That's
From
nice.
Abuja, Meta. And that's how we start the show this morning. Welcome to Breakfast Extra.
Well, good morning and welcome to your favorite weekend escape. It's Breakfast Extra. We've got a packed show for you guys, an exciting lineup for you today. Filled with thought-provoking discussions, we've got great guests, eye-opening insights. We started already with that one from Over the Prologue, and a sprinkle of humor here and there, as we normally like to do. We know it's all doom and gloom, but at least we can smile a little while we tell it to you. How you take it, well, it's up to you. In any case, we've got big reports coming up. And I'll take a look at the urban crime situation in Abuja and the persistent menace of one-chance operators, the criminal syndicates that prey on unsuspecting commuters in the Federal Capital Territory. That's not all. Inside of our big story, we'll tackle a fierce topic here, a very fiery one, shaping the nation, the tax revolution, unpacking the impact of reforms on Nigerians, from changes to the VAT-sharing formula to debates about economic fairness across states. We'll be speaking with a policy analyst from SBM Intelligence to break it down for us and explore what these reforms mean for the average Nigerian. And on perspectives, well, we hit the streets of Lagos to ask a surprisingly tricky question. Can you say this number out loud? And this is a test even for me, but watch while I educate people here. This is 605,076,065,857 naira 34 kobo. I got it right, guys. Thank you for almost setting me up, all of you. Yes, her especially. But it's part of a larger conversation here about dyscalculia awareness. And trust me, the answers will make you laugh, think, and maybe even sympathize with those who struggle with numbers daily, which might include you. Then over on Wellness Central, we'll explore, well, lesser known learning this other, which kind of like goes with that as well. So if you stick around, you get to find out. But let it be known that the last time that I'll ask Judith TB about Kemi Badenoch would be yesterday, because she went and did an entire prologue about it.
Yeah.
Take it easy, girl.
So listen, like afterwards, I think, you know, it took me a while to answer, because I never really thought about it. If there's something that anyone knows about me, is like, I mind my business. So it took me a while for me to get home. I was like, because I got home, I was like, wait a minute, let me see now.
But real quick, I'll tell you something.
Really something to do. Yeah.
I'll tell you something. Nigeria is in need of laundering its image.
Yeah.
And any way, shape, or form it gets that opportunity, it will grab at it, or at least hope that those people who are responsible for having that, the eye of the world at that particular time, would actually help that image.
Right.
So it was, for the vice president, quite a harrowing experience to watch Badenoch actually say she's not Nigerian, because we need it. No matter who you are out there, we need a bit of positivity when it comes to the label of being Nigerian. So we do love you, Kemi.
I get the desperate grasp for image laundering.
Yeah, image laundering.
I get the desperate grasp for it, but haven't we been doing that with our Afrobeat music and all of our exports?
We need it on all grounds. Entertainment, news, business, because that's what brings all the foreign investments and attention to Africa, to Nigeria. Or isn't that place where Davido or even Kemi Badenoch is from? Let's go invest.
But did they become successful in Nigeria?
We'll talk about that on another show. Let's do the dailies this morning. I hear we have very little time. We're going to be starting with the Punch newspaper this morning. So we'll have that on your screen. But while we're doing that, this is what we have on the front page for the Punch, Sunday Punch newspaper. Naira for crude. Ipman eyes petrol price reduction. Over 23 million barrels of crude traded as civil societies knock cabal. That's on page 3, an exciting read for you there. And governors revel in luxurious convoys amid economic crisis. At the top of the Punch on a Sunday, Nigeria's judicial system loose. Pamper corrupt leaders, tell me about it. Icon president says at the bottom, or rather to the side here, with the under the picture of the president, concerns mount over Tinubu's silence on envoy's appointment, and IPI Nigeria re-elects Mojid Shekarau as president's secretary, and tax reforms, Senate AGF yet to meet for review. Deaf community battles exclusion as sign language declines, which is a shame, because sign language is picking all over the world. There isn't a political forum you don't find somebody who's interpreting in other countries. I think we do that here too in Nigeria.
Yes, we do.
But I think most of the drive is mostly from religious backgrounds where people sign in church and they come on. I don't think there's an active effort to make sure that it's.
We want to stop now.
We want to. Yeah, we're going there.
Let's move on to the next paper, shall we? We went for Sunday Punch now to Sunday Independent. There we go. We'll move on to our Sunday Independent there. And the very first one that jumps at you is dilemma over Nigeria's tittering institutions. Stakeholders decry climate of industrial actions, lament production of poorly educated graduates. That story is on page 3 of the Sunday Independent. At the top there, tax reform. Tinubu, a leader prepared to lead with courage. Dugara, that story is on page 7. Y'all too, why we paid salary on December 14th, and that's from Kogi State Government. There you can find that story on page 2. Nigeria on track to achieve universal health coverage, says Dr. Menace. That story is on 31. We go to the side there on the sidebar. Rivers' next target of APC, Danduje, inaugurates new state exco. That story there is on page 2. Judiciary remains last hope of common man, affirms Governor Fubara. That story is on 31. And I'm so thankful for them. I'm so thankful that they finally get their the local government allocations, and they're able to get, the state allocations now been, the court had vacated that order, which means they can now get the funds and, just go on for the people of, Rivers can get, projects and everything.
Finally, something for the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's Christmas, for goodness sakes. It's a Christmas miracle.
It is.
At least, for them.
A miracle indeed.
Babalola Farotimi, police acted in bad faith. Lawyer activists wonder why Ekiti police, not Lagos, carried out arrest. Insists investigation should have been done before arrest. That story is on page 4. Cash withdrawals. Customers deploy CBN's failure to adequately regulate banks. Lament non-feeding of ATMs hiked in POS charges. That story is on page 2. And at the bottom there, 4 persons allegedly killed in Benue community by suspected attackers from a Boeing. That story is on page 5. And that's pretty much all of the stories here and the Sunday Independent.
Real quick, Sunday Tribune here. We've got this headline. Tinubu discloses reasons behind government policies. Government policy says they are aimed at making Nigeria work for everyone. This is so repetitive because we've heard this over and over again. Well, we'll talk about this. Abuja County Road FG dumps concrete ups for asphalt, says it will save 640 billion naira. Now, regarding this on the roads in Nigeria, I'll tell you something. One of the best roads in Nigeria is the Obajana Way as you're heading towards Lokoja. And the reason why it's one of the best roads in Nigeria is because it's about 40 kilometers of concrete. It was built by Dangote and heads all the way till the Dangote cement factory in Obajana. That road has been the way it has been for over 10 years because it's concrete. If you're going to save 640 billion naira, at what cost for real? Asphalt will melt. It will break down because of the rains and the heavy use.
We still, Nigeria, it's just...
So I don't know if that is absolutely saving us money or if it's just kicking the can down the road. Moving on, in any case, inside the Sunday Tribune for this morning, at the bottom, we lost certificates, other valuables to fire, say victims of CAC Church in Ibadan as they recount this. How a woman lied in auto crash 2 days to daughter's beauty contest. How those two stories are together, I do not know. Nigerians now united in hunger, clamoring for divine intervention, says Aboishade. Fathers now abandon wives, children over hardship and poverty, says NHRC. A poor situation here in Nigeria. And I am Hale and Hearty, says INEC chairman dismisses death rumors. That's when you begin to blossom, trust me. It happens all the time. That's it for the Sunday Tribune. What other papers do we have?
So what you're saying is that I should get a death rumor so that I too can flourish.
Oh, no. Well, the thing is... Oh, no.
All right. You see how they sounded? Anyway, we will go to the Guardian weekend. Let's move on now to our next paper. For politics there, for page 17 at the top, Benue APC House falling apart over Akume Aliyah rift. Right next to it, arts page there on page 21. Bola deepening climate change narrative through reclaimed beauty. The very big headline there for you, why mining sector can't be reliable despite MOU with France. That series on page 8 and 9. At the bottom there from Ghana, lessons for Nigeria's electoral umpire ahead of 2027 polls. You can find that story on page 2. And finally, whether Nigeria as Morocco, Saudi host World Cup. That story is at the back of the Guardian weekend. And that's pretty much all for the Guardian.
Okay. I'm wondering if we have enough time to take another daily. If we do, I'm going to go right ahead. Yes. Now, Let's take the Sunday Times this morning. For the Sunday Times, we have this big headline here. GOC OPA's SH commander halts clashes, farms destruction by 60% of southern Kaduna, or in southern Kaduna rather, and countdown to Elegance Miss Nigeria 54th edition. Congratulations, beautiful picture there. Army offensive targets Lakurawa terrorists, neutralizes members, and Ganduje APC leaders celebrate Wike's 57th in Port Harcourt. PDP courts Jonathan ahead of 2027 NEC decision, and a Finnish government freezes Simon Ekpa's assets, transfers him to tough prisons. There was much ado yesterday regarding the state at which he is being kept in Finland, and I think there was a look at some of the prisons, or the prison that he might be kept with, and the concern was who he was spending this time with, rapists and criminals and all of that. I don't know how to feel about that, so I'm just going to save my comments on that. Yeah.
Let's move now to the nation, shall we? At the top of the nation there, there we go. The very first one there is Tinubu on economy. I don't take pleasure in causing pain. Really? I don't know if you know the name.
Move on.
Anyway, it says he only wants to correct past mistakes. That story is on page 3. Rivers governorship, APC, PDP in early muscle flexing. Fubara will be returned in 2027, says Bola Mohammed. Ganduje state is APC's next target. We've secured Edo Cross River. That story is on page 2. At the bottom there, Cash Crunch, CBN probe reveals VIP's banks as main culprits. Slams 150 million naira fine on banks releasing new notes to hawkers. Banks ration cash, limit withdrawals at branches, ATMs. At the bottom there, Mahmoud Yakubu not dead. Hail and hearty. INEC, that series on page 5. Chukwu is new Ohaneze President General to serve for only 27 days. That series on page 5 there. And the bottom there, Nigeria's oil sector gets 30,000 barrel per day boost. And that story is on page 3. 30,000 barrel per day boost is okay, but can you sell it? Can you refine it? Is it going to bring down the price of fuel? That's a conversation we want to have.
Well, I'm hoping that we have all those conversations and more right here inside of Breakfast Extra. That's about all the dailies we can take for this morning, the front pages at least. We've got some conversation that will interest you and that will brush on some of the headlines that we've touched on this morning. So tell you what we're going to do now. Let's take a break, and when we come back, our very first big report this morning inside of the Sunday edition for Breakfast Extra with Mazzino and Judith. We'll be back. So let's kickstart the show properly with the first big report. We're going to turn our attention to the urban menace that has become, well, the one-chance situation in Abuja. Crime in Abuja, and also the persistent menace of these guys, the one-chance operators, criminal syndicates that prey on unsuspecting commuters in the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the FCT Police Command has recently announced a major breakthrough, arresting several suspected criminals, including a notorious one-chance syndicate group. In a press briefing, the police commissioner revealed that 13 stolen vehicles were recovered in the past 2 weeks, with 8 of them, those recovered just this past week. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, he was following the story, and he put up a report on this. Let's take a look at that report.
According to the police, the recent arrest of 7 suspected members of a one-chance syndicate group allegedly responsible for terrorizing the capital city was made possible through strategic intelligence gathering, surveillance, and targeted interventions. The FCT Commissioner of Police says that significant items were recovered, including 8 vehicles, 109 phone memory cards, and several other belongings within the last week.
7 different groups of people operating one chance have been arrested. In all, last week and this week, the total number of vehicles gotten from operators of one chance is 13. 3 different groups operating with POS are among the ones arrested. The POS are here for you to see. 5 laptops were recovered from them. These laptops were robbed from passengers who fell victims to them. 3 phones of different makes, $203 recovered from them.
The The police also revealed that a common threat among the vehicles used by the arrested syndicates is the use of tinted windows, which they use to conceal their activities.
If we have 109 memory cards removed from phones, that is equivalent to 109 phones collected from victims of one chance. There is a common denominator in the vehicles gotten from one chance. All the vehicles recovered from them are tinted. All the vehicles recovered from operators of one chance, 13 of them, they are right there behind you for you to inspect, are all tinted.
During the interrogation, some suspects provided chilling details about their operations, explaining how they trick unsuspecting victims to rob them of their valuables.
If person come inside motor, where he enter inside motor, you go to tell and say shift. From there they remove in kaya. Before you know, the driver go tell her, give him price, you go drop. So you go. The price now, the way Maraba 200, if you say 500, 600, person go do annoying, you go drop.
Gay Oga. Yes, sir. Let me game motor. I don't know how far, but as I follow them, if you hold anything for lefty, if you enter motor in last passenger, 3 for back. Yes, sir. Then you where they come now as in passenger and I go complete them 4. Then the Oga, the workman himself, and I go remove it for lefty pocket.
The police commissioner, while expressing regrets for the inconveniences experienced by citizens in the course of their operations, urged the residents to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities to the police. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
That was a detailed report from our correspondent Idong Joseph. And joining us now live is one of the victims who have experienced one chance, is none other than Grace. Grace, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on this morning, Grace. I must understand that you're very brave to have to just say this, that you are absolutely brave to be able to come on here to share your story with us this morning, and we appreciate you for coming on. Grace, might I just ask... Thank you. Let me just start by asking for you to share with us what happened to you when you joined a One Chance vehicle.
Thank you. On the 12th of April this year, 2024. Are you hearing me?
Yes,
we can.
Okay. On the 12th of April this year, 2024, I was going to AYE, so at Carroll Bridge, I boarded a cab, and the cab was already full, and the whole 4 glass were wind down. I was the last person to join them. So I entered and we proceeded. Before getting to the AYE, which is the University Valley Estate, before there was a filling station, the driver said, "Please, I want to buy fuel." And we're like, okay. So we navigated towards the filling station to get the fuel. On getting there, they were not selling fuel, but black market people were there. And he bought from the black market guys 10 liters. And immediately he bought the fuel and we proceeded. Getting close to Abuja Barracks Bridge, he central locked the car and entered the speed lane. And that was how the first line of the whole 4 glasses came up. That was where I knew they were all, it was a tinted glass. And that was how they brought out gold. The driver and the one in front and another guy at the extreme end, they were all together, we didn't know. So we were 3 victims, ladies. And that was how, at gunpoint, they asked us to put our head down. Putting our head down, they collected our bags, collected our phones. So the guy sitting in the front was the one doing the operation. If you call your number, because everybody's phone was having a password, you dare not raise your head up. You call who owns this one. When you tell him, we tell you to tell him the password. Open the phone. went to accounts, withdrew money, and they also, when they collected all the money we had in our accounts, they went further to they saw an app called this loan app on my own phone, which is called Fair Money app. And they asked me what the password. I told them they collected money from two different apps, loan apps from them. And we were there, they were still driving. This thing happened at about 7 in the evenings. And that was how we were going. At the time they released us was after 10 in the night. We didn't know where they were going, but they were just driving. And the other guy was operating. We were even asking of our ATM, meaning they have a POS with them. But I told them I don't have a POS. I don't have an ATM. And so, from the money they borrowed from the loan app, which is Fair Money, they borrowed 1.3 million from them. Another app called Palm Credits, they took almost 200 or 300 something thousand from that one. And my own account, I have 3 different accounts. I have First Bank, I have GC, I have Access, and I have OP, which is a wallet. All the money in the accounts, they cleared everything. From the wallet, I think I was having small money, like 18,000 something. From the Access, I was having about 80 something thousand. Then from my GT, that was where I was not specific of the amount I was having. And what they do, if they are collecting money from your account, they switch it into the account. They will collect money from your First Bank and send it to your GT account. Then they will now withdraw it from there. Or they will collect from the GT and send it to your Access. And collect from your Access and send it to your First Bank. Then move it out. So that was how we were that day. And at about, I don't know, we didn't know, but at the end of the day, they dropped us somewhere that was dark. They said, okay, they have accomplished, because they were in a hurry to go for another victim. It's like those people used to have targets. They used to have targets, so they were in a hurry to go for another victim. And the other victim that was with us, she was having a button phone. What they collected from her was 350,000. But the other third lady, she's a youth corper. She said her account was blocked. So there was no way they could collect any money from her. And they went away with our phones. And before they dropped her, they now said, okay, take your bag, your phones are inside, but don't open it until we drop you. When they dropped us in one place, they said we should enter the bush, that anybody that comes down, they will shoot the person. That they are just being nice to us today, but we should cooperate. And that was how we ran into the bush that night. As of the time we come out of the bush, they are gone. And it was a lonely place, very dark and lonely. And where we stood and seeing Express was far ahead. So we now have to cross river to where there is light so we can know what is happening. But on opening our bags, the phones were not there. The only thing we saw was transport. They gave us transport money. Like me, they put 2,000, the other lady 2,000 too. Because they asked us where we are coming from and where we are going to. So they were like, okay, this one will take you to your destination.
Right.
And it was a good Samaritan that helped at the end of the day to take us to Area 1. So we're not asking the man, please, sir, where is this place? He was like, so we don't know. We said we don't know. We explained what happened to us. We said the place is behind the American embassy. That was when we said that. That's this place, and it's a very dangerous place. So he took us to Area 1 that everybody have to find this our way to our various destinations.
Mrs. Joseph, I must say thank you so much for just sharing your experience with us. But I have to ask you, were you able to go to the police? Were you able to file any report? Very quickly, because we're out of time.
Yes. I couldn't go to the police that night, but the next morning, which this thing happened on Friday, the next morning, which was Monday morning, I rushed down to a police station close to where I reside in one of the satellite towns in Abuja. And when I met with the police people, I have to document my reports to them, and they were like, okay, I should come back on Monday. That I need to go and swear an affidavit, and I need to go for I need to get a police extract, which at the end of the day I got them, and I sent a mail to all those banks that they collected money from. I did that.
Well, I mean, we must say thank you, Madam Grace, for just taking out the time this morning to share your experience with us. We are so thankful that you're alive, as well as the other women, and such a harrow experience would have been traumatizing. But thank you for taking out the courage, or just having courage to share your experience with us this morning. Many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that's all we can take for our big report there, just tackling urban crime with the one chance menace that is going on in Abuja.
It's a very interesting story, that, because every location she mentioned, I know, so it's like I'm living through the story, and I know that these are locations that you cannot do without being at if you need to transit from home to work. Especially at the back of that American embassy where she spoke about, desolate place, especially at night. So I can imagine why they choose that vicinity to actually drop them off at. It's a sad situation.
I don't like Abuja at nights. Never did. Never done. Never.
It's safer than you think, but
yeah, the roads are too wide for me.
I also wanted to mention that we actually did extend an invitation to the CP Police Abuja and also the PRO. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it on the show today. They did extend their apologies that they couldn't make it. However, I think it's the second time we've invited them over, but they couldn't make it. We're hoping that the third time will be the charm, and they'll be able to. But good work so far, what they're doing in Abuja, helping to arrest the situation with the one-chance operators. We just only hope that next time we'll be able to have them on here to tell us themselves these efforts. Thank you very much in any case. So that's our first big story, big report. We've got more coming up. Let's take a break, and when we get back, we'll be taking a big story, and this time, well, you'll want to enjoy, you'll want to listen to this one. We'll be back.
And welcome to our very first big story for today. Is where we always break down the critical issues shaping our political landscape. And today we delve into the contentious topic of political cross-carpeting and its implications for Nigeria's democracy. Now, this week, the Labour Party made headlines condemning the defection of 6 lawmakers to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, including 4 representatives from the House. The Labour Party has described the defections as a constitutional violation, calling on the Speaker of the House to declare the defectors' seats vacant and vowing legal action. While some see this as a betrayal of voters' mandates, others argue it's a legitimate exercise of political freedom.
And so this morning, joining us to discuss the issues here are 2 guests with distinct perspectives. Dr. Kennedy Oriaki, a former chairmanship candidate of the Labour Party, Ego LGA Edo State, and also Mr. Bola Ibrahim, Director of Publicity for the APC. So let's dive into the issues. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Thank you very much. Dr. Kennedy Oriaki, we're going to start with you, if you do not mind. Now, sir, the Labour Party has called these defections irrational and alien to democracy. What do you think motivates these lawmakers to actually make the move and leave the party despite the Constitution's provision on defections? Dr. Kennedy Oriaki.
Well, the truth of the matter is this. There are moral ways to look at it. There are constitutional ways to look at it. And we, coming from the background of being Labour Party members, we have our special way of looking at it. There's a provision in our law that says that when there is a crisis within political parties, it does give elected officers in the fold a leeway, an opportunity to shift base, probably to a place where such crises do not exist. The Constitution has given them that kind of leverage. And in my opinion, that is what they are looking at this point in time. All across the 36 states of the Federation, where Labour Party exists, you could see that one of the issues, the major issues, as it were, that bedevils the party across board is terrible. Let me not use that word now. Very, very ineffective leadership. A leadership that is not dedicated to the vision of this great party called Labour Party. A leadership that has come to stay and use the platform for trade and commerce. Before 2023, Labour Party was in the political backwaters of Nigerian politics. But something happened that we all know. And the general public, in the hope that there's an emergence of a political party that will bring something different from what they were used to. They were really tired of the two existing political parties running this country. Finally, Labour Party came. The goodwill of the people attended is coming on board properly. And everybody wanted that change. Whatever may have happened, the goodwill actually rubbed off on Labour Party. They have some elective officers at various levels across the country, which was the best outing they have had since the party was created. But what a lot of people didn't know was this. Labour Party, as it were, before the advent of Mr. Peter Obi, was a party that was fraught with leadership that used the platform to trade with the bigger political parties. Now, you would have expected now that something new has happened, people have donated contributed their goodwill to the party. The party now stands a chance. The people are looking at the party as the party that can take Nigeria out of the doldrums of economic woes and political woes. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the actors within the party still felt that they must go on trading with the platform. In fact, they saw it as a platform for larger volumes of trade. And it was just a matter of time before the leadership crisis, snowballed into what we have right now. What I'm saying in essence is that there is a leadership that is present in the party right now that necessitates this defection across board. Why others are looking at it from the constitutional point of view, from the moral point of view, we within Labour Party have seen that this has been a long way coming.
All right, Dr. Kennedy. All right.
Let me tell you,
Dr. Kennedy, just a second, Dr. Kennedy. We appreciate that, and we get the plot which you've just given us for the Labour Party since its existence. But we also have joining us Mr. Bola Ibrahim. So we want to acknowledge that first of all.
Yes, Mr. Bola, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on, sir. I mean, I have to ask, for the APC, 6 lawmakers have now joined the APC within a week, and they're all citing internal crisis within the Labour Party and a desire to align with APC's developmental policies. I have to ask you, what does this say about the APC's appeal and President Bola Tinubu's leadership?
You're talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Mr. Bola Ibrahim.
Okay.
I'm hoping you can hear us. Mr. Bola Ibrahim, I hope you can.
Can you hear us, sir?
We might have an issue.
We have an issue with this audio there.
So I guess we're going to throw that to you, Dr. Kennedy Oriaki. Regarding this appeal for the APC by LP defectors, what do you have to say about that?
Seems to be something.
This has nothing to do with the Bola Tinubu leadership. There is nothing about Bola Tinubu leadership at the moment to take home. The effect of the Bola Tinubu's leadership on the Nigerian people right now, we do not need to go into all of that. We know what it is like. Now, these people have taken a look at Labour Party and they are convinced that it is no longer a viable platform for them to pursue their political interest come 2027.
And you have identified from earlier, sir. Dr. Oriake, you identified from earlier that this is a leadership problem. When you say a leadership problem that's causing people to defect from the LP, exactly how do you mean the leadership problem? Are you referring to the squabbles that we experienced from the mid of this year regarding who exactly was the leader or the chairman of the LP? Does that still extend up until now, where we're made to believe that everything has been settled? Only just this week, a Labour Party member, Oyatake Ibori, also defected. So we're wondering exactly why, when they defect, they speak of instances of stifling their ability. What exactly does this mean? I'm going to come back to Mr. Bala Ibrahim, because I hear that we have him back now and we have communication with him. We were asking earlier, sir, why the Labour Party members who have defected choose to always go to the APC. What is this appeal for the APC by LP defectors? Mr. Bala Ibrahim, sir.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
I hope you can hear me, and
yes,
thank you for having me. Well, when you are in the market and you have your wares, you put up your wares for sale, and customers scramble to buy. If they fall over each other to purchase, I think you should celebrate and clap your hands for producing a very good ware that is attractive to the customers. Now, as a party, the APC has programs that are being admired and appreciated by politicians from the other side of the block. And these politicians seem to be abandoning their parties for one reason or the other and coming over to the APC. I think what we should say or see is that the party is doing very well and people are being appreciative of the policies and programs of the party. So I think it is the way and manner the APC is handling and managing itself that is endearing it to the politicians from the other side or the opposition, and that is why they are coming over. And the APC and the Labour Party will not want to be left out.
But it's very interesting that you're likening the appeal of the APC to wares at a market, because it begs to ask the question: is it about really them comporting themselves in a as you say, appealing manner that is attractive to other politicians, or is this just a power play in terms of let us align with those who are in power, and the winning party at this point is the APC? Because to be fair, the APC have been strategic when it comes to just power and making sure, not just from the center, but also at state level. We have seen both Edo, Cross River, and also Ondo State, now which was predominantly an opposition party, now APC.
Well, the position of power is very central in politics. Whoever is in politics has gone there with an ambition. The ambition is to grab or gain power so as to execute the programs he has or the party has with a view to changing the lives of the people. So the APC as a party is in power at the moment at the center, and it is doing everything to change the narrative and make people get good dividend of democracy. And in the struggle for this, other political parties, the Labour Party inclusive, are crossing over to the APC for a number of reasons, I think. One is to learn the ropes of the game, and two is to see how they can be able to achieve their mission or ambition through the policies and programs of the party, because their own party may not be giving them the desired platform
Mr. Ibrahim,
and the avenue.
You keep mentioning policies and policies and programs of the party. What are these policies and programs, might I ask?
Well, the APC is a progressive party, and it is anchored on the mission or ambition of progressivism. It is anchored on the mission of giving good dividends to the people. It is anchored on giving people good health, good facilities, good education, employment, and changing the narratives of life generally.
So, Mr. Ibrahim, how would you score the APC so far in doing those things you've just mentioned? Dividends to the people, providing amenities for the people, education and all of that. How would you score the APC so far?
Let's include the last 8 years if we're counting.
Exactly.
Well, the APC has been in power altogether for about 10 years now, close to 8 years of Buhari plus close to 2 years of Tinubu. And when you juxtapose that with the 16 years of PDP misrule, you see that it is too early to make any valid judgment.
It's been 10 years. You just noted that it's been 10 years, almost 10 years. You score the APC high. Who's scoring the APC high? Is it the politicians that are saying that the APC is doing so well? Or is it the people whom they're supposed to serve? How do the people score the APC? Are they happy? Are they able to buy fuel at fueling stations or go to school? Are they able to eat twice a day? Is the APC doing well? And is this the reason why other parties are going there, because they're doing well? For who? For the politicians
for their political ambitions?
The APC? Is that why they're running there? Or is it because they're doing well for the people? Dr. Kennedy Oriaki, let me come to you. Please, who is scoring the APC well on this ground? Why exactly are politicians moving? Is it because there's something happening good for politicians, that's why they're going there? Or is it because they genuinely see that the APC is doing well for Nigerians and they want to serve more?
I guess you know the answer to those questions.
No, I don't know. You tell us.
We're just journalists. We have no clue.
APC has done very poorly. And you don't need to come on air to say that. Go and feel the heartbeat of the average Nigerian. They know it has been from bad to worse, if we have to compare them with PD. Let me now answer your question. Why are the politicians rushing to that platform? You know, it is not far-fetched. Today in Nigeria, what we have noticed is this. APC, INEC, the judiciary, they are a team. That team will most likely give you victory in any election. So you do not need to do well, or you do not need to want to go to APC to change the state of affairs and bring good governance to the people. Why you go to APC is because you want to win an election. And however you win that election, that is your problem. There is a team waiting for you to combat against you. The APC, the INEC, and the judiciary. Once all these people are working together, it is not easy for members of the opposition, candidates from the opposition party to win an election. You will take the last two elections as an instance. We knew the person who is now sitting as governor in the state, it was not even somebody that the people considered had the capacity to govern the state like Edo. But today, with the formula that I just mentioned to you, APC plus INEC plus judiciary, and maybe judiciary eventually, the man is sitting there. So far, it's APC versus INEC that have done their bit. The man is sitting there. So that is why these politicians are moving straight to APC, because if they don't, they feel strongly that their political prospects come 2027 will be dim. And they have no choice, they are doing it. But again, like I will always say, Labour Party has refused to manage itself very well. The goodwill they got from the people, they neglected it, and they are pursuing other things that are of no benefit to the people. And the people have in turn also drawn support, removed support from them, because they cannot bet. Sit at home, seeing that the options that are before them are not options that stand a chance of turning our country into a better place. To begin to project the story that APC is doing this, APC is doing that, I think that is just fallacious. I will not blame the publicity director for saying, oh, he's a party member, and that is what he's paid to do.
Right. Dr. Oriaki, I must, you said something. You said two things, that the APC have failed, but your members have moved to the APC. The members of Labour Party have defected to the APC, whether or not they have failed. And you also alluded that one of the reasons that you believe that they are moving there is for them to win the elections, giving your triad solution that you pulled out, which is the APC, INEC, and judiciary. Your comments, not mine. And so with critics' argument that these lawmakers were elected on the Labour Party's platform and that defection betrays the voters who trusted them, one has to ask you, what strategy then should Labour Party employ, or how can they plan to protect its mandate moving forward, getting into 2027 for the sake of Nigerians and the party loyalists?
Thank you very much, madam. There's an aspect of all of these we think should come to the public domain. The people must have an understanding of why Labour Party has turned out to be the way it is. There is a leadership problem. There is the issue of a single individual wanting to lord it over the party. Do you know why the people are leaving? The people say they cannot be in the same platform with this chairman. Now, what you see happening there right now is little compared to what is happening at the grassroots. The people who supported Labour Party at the grassroots are moving away in droves. That's what even hurts me, not these elected officers. You know, the elected officers, many of them just keyed into the Peter Obi popularity to get to office. They are not the ones that we are worried about. But the ordinary man who used his sweat and resources, came to the party, did everything to help the party to climb to the level it is now. They are also moving away from the party. And why are they doing that? Because there is a certain national chairman by the name Julius Abure who has come to believe that Labour Party is private property. I will give you just an example. What Abure did to cause a lot of people unhappiness, if I may put it that way. Now, in our constitution as a party, when you are organizing your congresses, you start from the ward to the local government, to the state, and delegates who emerge from this process come together for the national convention to elect their national leaders. But Abure chose a few persons. They went to Inewi last year. They held a convention when there was no ward congress, when there was no local government congress, when there was no state congress. And he put his cronies together. They elected him again as national chairman. That was against what the expectations of the people. And the people on their own set up a caretaker committee, which of course, Abure went to liaise with the judiciary. The judiciary is another matter entirely. He liaised with the judiciary to give a phony judgment in his favor against our party constitution. And then, since the judiciary has given a judgment, the people now see that, why should we continue to battle so hard to remove Abure from seats when we have other options? It is one of the reasons they are going to APC. You can see that they are not going to PDP.
Dr. Kennedy Oriaki, I'm going to have to pause you there because I have to bring back Mr. Bala Ibrahim into the conversation. Mr. Bala Ibrahim, you've heard everything that Dr. Kennedy Oriaki has told about the LP. From what he's told, it seems there's plenty of infighting going on inside of the Labour Party itself, and it's still continuing. Plenty of disgruntled people in there who don't feel that the party is doing what it's supposed to do, especially when you remove the factor of a principle of by the name of Peter Obi. You also noted, Dr. Kennedy, that the rate of attrition for the Labour Party is high, whether it's the supporters or whether it's the politicians inside of the Labour Party. People are leaving. People are no longer supporting the Labour Party. It's no longer a beacon of hope, especially for the young people that thought, especially in the last election, that it was going to change something. So, Mr. Bala Ibrahim, I ask you, at this rate, what do you think is left of the Labour Party?
Well, nothing is left but labor. I think the people that remain there will continue to labor. I hope not in vain, but they will continue to be in labor. What they need is to have good maternity center that will deliver them without them losing too much blood and energy. The APC has established itself as a party that knows the art of politics, that knows the ropes. And it was in the opposition before. When PDP was in power, though, the APC was in the opposition. But it managed itself very well. It went on a very good drawing board and did its homework. At the end of the day, it captured power and is now teaching the opposition how to play opposition neatly, democratically, and in a way, a manner that is healthy. but they don't seem to understand that. Thank God, in its wisdom, the APC has established what it called the Progressive Institute. This is an institute that intends to teach members of the APC and also extend a hand of friendship to the opposition to come and learn politics in a way and manner that is progressive and in a way and manner that will be healthy for democracy. If they want to learn and if they want to understand and they want to remain relevant in the opposition, they are please invited to come forward. We will see what to do with regards registration fee.
Mr. Ibrahim, I'm very curious, right? And forgive me, because when we talk about democracy, a huge part of democracy is accountability, right? It's all about accountability. We must be accountable to the people. And the people who play in power, whether it's a political elite or those who are political jobbers themselves, they have to have some level of accountability. And so I have to critique this argument. Because if lawmakers, those who have been voted to represent the Nigerian people on a certain party, based off of the mandate of that party and the ethics and the ethos of that party, decide to defect to another party, right? It begs to ask a question about accountability and what exactly we're talking about when it comes to democracy. So I want to ask you what you make of this criticism. And hopefully we can be honest with ourselves, because the APC in and of itself it's a party that has metamorphosed since its inception and also has a large majority of the members of that party who have defected from the PDP and the Labour Party. What does this say about accountability for our democracy?
Well, if I understand accountability, I will say accountability is for the party in power to account for the mandate given to it, the resources that are entrusted on it, to be used judiciously in a way and manner that will be of benefit to the people. But it is not the ambition of accountability for the party in power to be accountable to the quantity and quantum and quality of the people in the opposition party. If they want to defect, it is not the responsibility of the party in power to stop them from defecting, because the party does not want to see to the loss of their numbers. We are not supposed to be accountable to their numbers, neither are we supposed to be accountable to the quality of their members. That is supposed to be their responsibility. But as a party, we are accountable and we are supposed to be held accountable to the resources that are entrusted on us in governance and the way and manner these resources are used. Are they being used judiciously or they are being used recklessly? If they are used recklessly, yes, the people have a right to ask. So the APC has been entrusting and has been entrenching good governance in power. It has been advocating. In fact, part of the reforms now that have been introduced by the Tinubu administration includes the reform for good governance, the reform for fairness in the judiciary, the reform for fair use of resources. Their overall...
Mr. Ibrahim, if we split the screen, fantastic, into four screen, we can see that...
the system, everyone that is in the position is held accountable.
Right. So accountability, right? But then again, there's a voter trust. If a voter has trusted you to vote on you based off of the ethos and the ethics and the tenets of a particular party, then why then move base? And what does it say about voter trust? But I have to ask you, and I'm throwing this question at both of you, and I'll start with you, Dr. Oriaki. If a member decides to defect from the APC to the Labour Party, are there checks and balances for each party? Let me start with you, Dr. Oriaki, and then come to you, Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Oriaki, you have the floor very quickly because we're pressed for time.
Yes. Under normal circumstances, the Constitution speaks very, very eloquently on these issues, and they should be followed. But if I have to talk to you as a Labour Party member, the truth remains that our party is in disarray at the state levels, local government level, and even at the national level. And there's a loophole created also by the law for persons who are operating on these platforms to find a way to project themselves. And I think that is where these elected officers have gotten their verve. But actually, you see, a Labour Party is supposed to be a party for the people, but like I said before, the leadership has done something to it that is no longer able to perform at that level and is no longer able to win the trust of the people. But on the issue of accountability, there is hardly anything we can do concerning these members now, because, in my opinion, they have a ground for doing what they have done. There is a leadership present at the state, at the national level, that has caused chaos all around the states.
All right, Dr.
Now,
Raki.
the people are not happy.
All right, Dr. Raki, notes that we're out of time.
So,
Mr. Ibrahim, let's come to you and ask you the same question. How does the APC filter what it might have referred to as bad elements coming into that party from the LP?
Well, no matter how bad these elements are, provided they wish to join the APC, when they come to the APC, they have to play by the rules of the party. They have to play the game according to the way the party wants the game played. So they will be refined, they will be trained, they will be polished, they will be made to understand that ours, or the APC's, is progressive politics, not retrogressive politics they were playing. And the programs and policies of the party are such that will make them to be better politicians, and they will see that being in power does not necessarily mean you have to be reckless. No, you can be in power and still remain accountable judiciously to the people and to those that voted you. So if they come into the APC, they will be made to be better politicians in future.
So the APC will not close its doors to any member of the LP, no matter their character from before. Its doors are open. Is that what you're saying?
Well, certainly, provided he or she will drop the Labour Party character, drop the Labour Party card, and drop the attitude of confrontation. That intransigent attitude they were displaying at Labour Party must be dropped, and they take a polished and politically polished, in particular, attitude that will be progressive. Yes, and the APC will treat them that this is a party that is intended and is willing to provide democratic dividends to the people and wish to remain in power for as long as the people wish.
As the Director of Publicity for the APC, I'd like to ask you one final question. What do you think the people feel about the APC so far the past almost 2 years? Just trying to check on reality here.
Well, there is anger in the land, I won't deny that. There is pain in the land, I will not deny that. But this anger and pains are pursuant to the reforms that are introduced by the party, courageously introduced by the president, which previous leaders have been uncomfortable to introduce, or they have not been as courageous as President Bola Tinubu is. Now, these changes are coming at a time that people are not expecting them, but there are changes that must happen if we want to move forward. Believe you me, the people will appreciate the introduction of these changes with time. So for now, I will tell you, yes, some people are complaining, not just some people, a lot of people are complaining, including me. But we are complaining with optimism that there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And we are appealing to the people to bear more. The result of these changes will be in the interest of the country, and it will be ovation at the end of the day.
I wonder if it's the interest of the country for the opposition to be diminishing or diminishing with every second of every day. I wonder if it's for the interest of our democracy or for the nation. But gentlemen, it's been sublime. Thank you so much for your perspectives on this heated topic. It's clear that, of course, the debate is very important to steer clear and just pave the way for our democracy. Many thanks to you, Dr. Kennedy Oriaki, and also to you, Mr. Bala Ibrahim, from the Labour Party and from the APC. Many thanks. We appreciate you.
I would like to stay tuned for more insights. We'll be right back after the break.
And welcome back. It's time for us to deep dive into President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bill, a bold attempt to transform Nigeria's taxation system. Now, while some have called this a revolution in fairness, others argue it could widen the existing economic imbalances across states and hit average Nigerians harder than expected. from sweeping changes in the VAT revenue sharing formula to tax exemptions for small businesses and individuals earning below 800,000 naira annually. This reform has sparked fiery debates, and for good reason. It has the power to reshape how Nigeria's economy works for years to come.
But what does this really mean for you and me? Are these changes fair? Are we ready? To help us unpack the impact, we're joined by Ayotunde Abiodun, analyst at SBM Intelligence, Nigeria's leading research firm. And also joining us, we have with us Mr. Dr. Isa Abdullahi, who's a lecturer and also will share his expertise on the topic. Abiodun, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Judith, please go ahead.
I mean, so much question to ask about President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bill and introducing very significant changes, including, revisions to VAT and exemptions for small businesses. But let's start by just basically, from your perspective, what are the key highlights of the reform and why is it so contentious for everyone, all of the stakeholders?
All right, so there are a number of key introductions in the bills. The end goal is to improve Nigeria's taxation system. So first, we've seen changes to the income tax laws to be able to facilitate more remote work for Nigerians. So you want to be able to align with global trends and make it easier for Nigerians to work in Nigeria and earn from anywhere in the world. We've also seen the introduction of zero-rated VAT charges on essential goods like food, electricity, and rent. And also, they placed zero-rated VAT on intellectual property services in a bid to improve our export numbers. We also see a number of tax exemptions. So first, for small businesses that earn below 50 million naira annually, you're exempted from paying taxes like withholding taxes, VAT, and company income tax. This is in a bid to give businesses a breathing space to just function well and try to stimulate local economy. Also, there are exemptions to individuals. So if you earn 800,000 naira or less annually, you're exempted from paying personal income tax. Also, you see that there's an introduction of a new fiscal policy, which is to provide guidelines for the Nigeria's taxation system, and also to establish guidelines for responsible government borrowing and also government spending. So there are a number of key reforms that have been introduced, but the most crucial, the most contentious has been the VAT. So it's important to put context. In terms of revenue sources for the Nigerian government over the years, the VAT pool has been the most surging. So just to give some numbers. In the first 9 months of 2024, the VAT pool has contributed about 4.7 trillion naira. That is double of what was collected all through last year, 2.4 trillion naira. So there's a large pool of money, and then we have northern states speak out that a change to this current model might disadvantage them, and so that's why we're seeing all of this contention.
Interesting times.
All right.
Let's move now to Dr. Isa Abdullahi, if you are on there. Dr. Isa, it's good to have you join us. Thank you so much for coming on.
Now, Dr. Isa, would like to know exactly why would like to know exactly why the contention, especially from northern critics regarding the VAT, 60% for southern states, and the northern states think that this will, favor mostly the southern states. Would you please deconstruct for us why this is so?
Well, thank you very much. Nice being with you this morning. I think one of the major issues, the tax reform, usually any country around the world has to restructure, considering a lot of issues that may come up, maybe inflation, value of naira, the need to get a larger tax net for citizens of the country so that the government can get a lot of revenue to finance its activities, most especially with the country today is in a very, very serious financial, tide. So the government will definitely look for one way or the other to restructure so that we can get enough money from tax system. Because Nigeria today has a tax to GDP ratio of about 16%, which is grossly too low. A lot of African countries do have about 30% of tax to GDP ratio. So I think if the government restructures the tax system is good, but then the seriously contentious issue is the issue of reallocation of the percentage of the value-added tax to northern states, southern states, or states across board. Initially, the tax system, the sharing formula of the value-added tax is about 55 to state governments in that proportion, and then about 16% to the federal government, 26% to local governments. But now the present formula is going to take it this way: 60% graduation formula, 20% population, and then remaining 30% goes to equality or equitable distribution. But this doesn't go down well to the northern states, most especially northern governors, northern citizens, northern elites, not necessarily northerners even the south, southwest, and so on may still have that problem in contention. Because if you look at the structure very well today in the country, you realize that there are a lot of companies, because of being Nigerianization, being Nigeria as a country, being Nigeria a federated state, being Nigeria a country where citizens can live anywhere, practice their business, their profession, do their businesses anywhere around the country, makes a lot of northern elites, northern wealthy people to settle down in the southern part of the country for their businesses. For instance, most of the big companies in Lagos, for instance, Dangote group of company, is a northern, if per se is to regionalize the company, it's a northern company, for instance, but almost 80-90% of Dangote Group is in the southern part of the country. For instance, it generates hundreds of billions of taxation to the federal government of Nigeria. The value-added tax is a kind of a taxation where we have, if you divide tax system into two, you say direct and indirect taxation. If you have direct taxation, is where you charge a person directly. I mean, if you charge the incidence, the burden of the tax goes to the person directly you are charging. For instance, now, if you charge a profit tax, the person making profit, the entrepreneur getting the profit, does not transfer the tax burden to another person. But if you charge a commodity tax, like the value-added tax on any commodity that is regarded not a necessity but a luxurious commodity, like electricity, like telecommunication services, they are regarded luxurious. Any services in the hotel, any services in the restaurant, commercial restaurant, they are all regarded as luxurious because they are not necessities. You can still eat food through the mama food, but if you go to a big restaurant, a big, inn, then you are into a luxurious eating house. Then you are charged what is called the value-added tax. And any other commodity being processed from one crude form or from one raw form to another processed form is getting a value addition, and therefore it should be charged a value-added tax. So all these taxes, kind of value-added tax, and so many other taxes like excise duty, custom duty, and whatever, they are transferable taxes, which we call the indirect taxation. You tax the producer, and he taxes the consumer. It's the consumer that pays the burden of the tax and not the producer. And therefore, if you look at it critically, you realize that those companies producing those commodities at wherever they are, they are not supposed to be the ones enjoying the value of the value of the taxes, because they are not the people paying. The population of those large number of people who don't have companies, who are buying those commodities from somewhere, are those people paying the tax, and therefore population should carry the larger percentage of what is being paid. That's one of the major arguments. Secondly, because Dangote has registered Dangote group of companies maybe in Lagos, doesn't make him to be a Lagos man. He's a Kano man. He's typically a Kano man. But then Nigeria is one. There are benefits for you to stay anywhere around the country. Lagos, where the company resided in, there is pay as you earn payee is being paid to Lagos state government. All the employees in Dangote group of company, they do pay to the residential state. That is the state of Lagos gets the pay as you earn tax in Dangote group of company. Kano doesn't have any kobo from Dangote group of company as payee.
Mr. Abdullahi,
if Kano people will pay for the commodities Dangote has produced, maybe in cement, in sugar, in whatever they produce in Lagos.
All right, Mr. Abdullahi, if you can give us a...
No.
All right. Well, Mr. Abdullahi...
That's one of the...
All right. Let's come to the studio so we don't leave Ayotunde out of this conversation. Ayotunde, people have spoken about, Nigeria's reliance on federal allocation. That's been a conversation. And people have also, critics have said that this reform could encourage states to become, economically self-reliant. What do you make of those arguments?
It's a valid argument to make. Again, context, just about 5 Nigerian states can function appropriately without relying on federal allocation. That's a very, very worrisome narrative. So what this new model proposes is, by tying revenue to consumption, you are incentivizing states to stimulate economic activities within their regions. So as such, there should be a gradual shift away from federal reliance, because how much you generate is pursuant to how much you've invested in economic activities within your region. And states are encouraged to put in appropriate governance capacity and policies to stimulate economic activities. So I think in the context of discussing Nigeria's long-term future, fiscal sustainability, this is a very good step in the right direction. We need to stimulate states away from relying solely on federal allocations.
Which is very interesting, because I was going to ask Mr. Abdullahi, Dr. Abdullahi, regarding that. Isn't this an incentive to actually help states to begin to develop and make them attractive for investors? Dr. Abdullahi.
Yeah, that's very, very critical, honestly. You see, if you take the whole of the northern part of the country, you can take like 10 states or more. If you combine them together economically, they are not as strong as Lagos. You combine 10 or even more. The whole of the northeastern part of the country, if you mix them, you half of the north central or northwestern part of the country. If you put them together, they cannot give you the economy of Lagos. For instance, now there is a branch of a bank in Ikoyi, Lagos, which earns as much money as all the branches in the whole northeastern part of the country cannot produce what that single branch in Ikoyi gives. Therefore, the northern part of the country is that economically too poor, is economically unsound, is highly unstable, and then I think what we should do to encourage, I'm so much an advocate of getting more taxes from people, and companies and organizations as well, because we are still nowhere to be found economically, most especially when it comes to federal government. But I don't also want a situation whereby only federal allocation sustains an economy. But if the government is really critical and serious about getting these states being on their feet, not to be relying on the federal allocations, I think tax system, reallocation of tax system, or resharing of the tax formula, or reallocating the tax formula is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem, you can pick virtually all the states of Nigeria have one kind of an endowed resource or the other. If you look at the whole southern part of the country, is that a thickly forested area? We have a lot of forest resources there. We have a lot of energy there. They can cash in. In the northern part of the country, you have a lot of solid minerals there.
Mr. Abdullahi, I have to, because we're out of time, right? And we have to make this very rounded conversation. Ayotunde, you have a response. You want to reply. You have a right to reply. Go ahead. You wanted to say something.
All right. So the presidential committee has taken all of these concerns into place. And that's why there's a shift in allocation formula. So what currently plays out is 15% goes to the federal government, 50% goes to the state government, and 35% goes to the local government, in a bid to stimulate more economic activities in states that are really reliant on federal allocations. The proposal now is to reduce the federal government stakes from 15% to 10%. This additional 5% to that of the state is to provide buffers for states that are going to transition. So in the immediate term, buffers have been made available for this kind of states to transition. And on your argument of northern states are largely poor, combining their economic activities not up to that of Lagos, we understand that they make up 70% of agricultural production in the country. And again, agricultural products have been zero rated. But there's also an incentive there for northern states to carry out policy moves. So because you're not going to charge VAT on agricultural produce, there's an incentive for northern states to develop agro-processing industries, to add more value to agricultural products. So you're making more marketable product from the agricultural produce being produced in that region. Also, there's an incentive for the states to prioritize policies that will attract private sector investment into the agricultural space. And also, the northern states can look to other, so the solid minerals, for instance, there's tourism. So all in all, these are incentives for northern states to come on board and stimulate more local economy.
I'm very thankful you've been able to lay the groundwork for this conversation, because then it now goes back to you, Mr. Abdullahi, and I have to ask you, with all of these incentives and all these policies that will attract, that is to help aim to attract investors into the northern states, are the states ready for that shift?
Well, states could be very ready for that, but let me emphasize here. There are a lot of policies in Nigeria right way back. They are being put on papers, and then you begin to argue with them on paper. Sometimes conferences, national conferences, and so on. But when it comes to the implementation, if you want now, the northern states should renegade its percentage of our value-added tax as large population who pays the tax. Then put in these mechanisms on ground. Let's see the development in the agricultural sector first. Let's see the agricultural sector of Nigeria, which suppose right now we import more than half of the food we consume in Nigeria. But if you can support the agriculture so that it meets international standards, we process it, we add value on it, and therefore northern people, northern states can get value out of the agricultural products they produce for export, for Nigerian consumption, and then for distribution to other parts of the country, and they get the benefits out of it. You can restructure the taxes. They can get it also out of the value added on the taxes. But how can you remove the little they get when they are getting just a peanut out of the total revenue and total allocations of the country? And if you give them nothing now, they will go back to zero. States governors in northern Nigeria may not be able to pay taxes, salaries.
Right. Abdullahi, this is Abdullahi, just a second.
All the agriculture.
Right. You want to round up that segment very quickly, because I want to bring Ayotunde into this very quickly. So just round off your comments, your final remark, because I want to bring Ayotunde into this. Ayotunde, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah. So on his point of saying northern states are just getting a peanut or a small fraction of the VAT pool, that's not totally true. If you look at the numbers, majority of the northeastern states get more than 200% of what they contribute to the VAT pool. So that in itself shows that we need to gradually put incentives for these states to stand on their own.
So guide rails and incentives for the states to stand on their own and to be able to be economically self-reliant. So whose problem should this be? Should it be the federal government who will continue to play godfather and foster father and support system and support stimulus, or should it now be the state governors who will now start to put in the right figures to steer their states into prosperity?
Oh, I'm the one to answer?
Yes, Abdullahi, you have the floor.
Yeah, I think let me get this thing clear to you. First, we are talking about the value-added tax. The value-added tax is a consumer tax. I want you to understand this and get it clear. It's the consumer who pays that tax. Therefore, the larger the consumer, the larger the tax allocation should be there. I want us to understand that so that we don't mix up issues. And secondly, your question of whose task is to develop the state is the combination of the federal and the state government, because the state governments do not operate in isolation of the federal government. There are a lot of laws, for instance, now concerning mining, solid minerals, which is completely in the exclusive list of the federal government. If you can make that list now to be in the concurrent list so that the state governments can make a lot of contributions in the development of the solid minerals, refining of petroleum products, if you can make laws in Nigeria that will make sure that exports now do not have anything or any connection with the federal government, then state governments, you force them, you make sure that you give them targets, you give them directives on how to develop these states. Don't just give them money to squander. You give them directives. You want them to do this, you want them to do that, and therefore they will implement it.
But that's all in the tax reform bills. But that's all in the tax reform bills. Everything you just said. Give them guide rails, don't just give them money, don't just give them more money, but also give them guide rails to be able to check and balance them.
Yeah,
that's all in the tax reform.
But then Let it work first. We don't run faster than the shadow, please. Let those policies begin to work, then you can restructure so that everybody could be on the same feet. You can't tell me this person earns multiple of what you earn and you don't have anything. And at the end of the day, you remove the little one that little is having and give it more to the person who is having more, without making the weaker person to be on his own feet. So let's make all these weaker states in the in the northern part of the country to function well. It's a function of combination of so many things that will make the states to be on their feet. You give them allocations, you monitor it, and then you give them sound policies and assistance, and then agricultural sector will pick up. There are states, there are countries don't even have oil, and therefore they work well with the agricultural economy, and the economy in agriculture supports them in whatever they do. So this is what we want to see in the northern part of the country, as well as the solid mineral. Even the oil sector in Nigeria, it was the federal government that developed the oil sector. It was not the southern states that developed the oil sector. It was the federal government who set up refineries, who did the exploration, who did the everything, and gave them everything. Monies from across the country, both northern part of the country, southern part of the country, were contributed to the development of oil sector because it's that of the federal government. So if the federal government wants the northern part of the country to stand on its feet in agriculture, it has to come in with a lot of investment, with a lot of technical know-how, with a lot of assistance in industrial and mechanized kind of agriculture. So that's very important and very necessary.
Dr. Abdullahi, thank you very much for those inputs. However, I want to ask, especially Ayotunde here in the studio with us, regarding samples of states, or rather instances where these kinds of formats have been used, do we have any samples? Or whether here in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, how it works in other countries regarding these tax reforms that we're about to adopt? Do we have any, Ayotunde? And how well it's doing, if we do?
All right, so the US comes to head as an example, where we have the federating units basically in charge of collection, but it's not totally the same system. What we're trying to do here is to tie more.
How does it work in the US exactly?
So in the US, the federating units are in charge of their sales tax, but it does remit a portion to the federal government.
Federal coffers.
But what we're having here is the federal government is still in charge of administration, but in terms of distribution, they want to distribute more to the states in terms of where consumption takes place.
And let me say this, right, that, and I hopefully Abdullah is listening, because the North has when it comes to the elite, the political elite, it is, let's look at the inception of the nation from 1960 all the way down to this present day. The larger population of the political elite are not Northerners, and they're from the North. Even our founding fathers are mostly from the North as well. And so all of the developments, whether it's refinery, the NNPC is also situated in the North as well. The North is agriculturally rich, mineral resources is heavily rich. Also, the population as well in the North is huge. So there were industries as well, with the textile industries and all of that still there. So it's quite interesting where we still say that we still need guide rails to make it work. Whose problem is that? This is a rhetorical question for us to just really sink our teeth into. I'm not really looking for an answer, because the North itself, if we're going to sit down and have a conversation about the North, I think that it's very indicting on the political elite, whether it's the Arewa Consultative Forum or the Northern Elders Forum. It's just very interesting. But that's, I have to ask you, Ayotunde, why is there so much contention with this bill? What exactly is the root cause of this contention?
Again, the conversation does borders on VAT distribution. So just to address some of the concerns Dr. Abdullahi made. So the current model wants to take away that headquarter effect, which he claims he keeps making reference to, or the big companies are situated in southern Nigeria, Lagos, Rivers. But the new model wants to take out that and make sure that you distribute based on where consumption really takes place. So just to put context, MTN, almost everybody all over the federation uses their services, and consumption takes place everywhere in the country. But when MTN is to file VAT returns, they will file in Lagos because their headquarters is there. But what the current model, the new model, opts to do is that let's allocate based on the ratio of consumption all over the federating unit. And I think that's the way to go.
Okay.
That's the way to go. I mean, gentlemen, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been very insightful. Hopefully, I mean, the truth of the matter is when you're introducing bills, arguments like this are necessary, and debates like this are necessary to fine-tune the bill for the benefit of all Nigerians, every facet, all the geopolitical zones, for it to benefit every single one of them. And these conversations need to be had. So I want to say thank you to you, Dr. Isa Abdullahi, as well as you as well, Ayotunde Abiodun, for just taking the time to have a conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
So do stay tuned because we've got more coming. Still got over an hour for Breakfast Extra and very interesting topics. Do stay tuned. We'll be back.
Let's turn our focus to Nigeria's mounting road safety challenges for our second big story for today. It's a crisis that continues to claim thousands of lives annually. Reports have consistently highlighted alarming statistics with accidents caused by reckless driving, poor road conditions, and weak enforcement of traffic regulations. Now, beyond the numbers and families shattered and livelihoods lost, making this an issue that demands, immediate and sustained action. The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, and other stakeholders have emphasized public enlightenment, stricter compliance with traffic laws, and enhanced road infrastructure as solutions. But the question remains, how do we implement these strategies effectively? A significant part of the solution lies in creating a culture of safety and accountability on our roads. And so today, we spotlight efforts to address these concerns while examining the role of authorities and citizens in curbing the epidemic of road accidents. Joining us for this important discussion is Elizabeth Jayola. She's a route commander and public enlightenment officer for the Lagos sector of the FRSC. Mrs. Jayola, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Good morning. I mean, you are deeply into public enlightenment, clearly, this campaign and you being here. How would you describe the current state of our roads, especially with dirty December?
Oh, well, our roads are fantastic for now, as against what we used to have back in the years, if you understand what I mean. We have, fantastic roads now. But what we do not have is the compliance of people to their speeding and their safety on those roads.
And that's what's causing the accidents, aren't it?
Definitely. When the roads are bad, we complain, oh, the roads are bad, the roads are bad. But when the roads are good, instead of us to go, on the level that we are supposed to go on, we speed it out. We want to get to where we are going because the roads are now smooth and, we can easily go now. We want to go to where we used to go on 45 minutes. Now we want to apply it at 5 minutes. So you see where the problem lies.
So reckless driving, it has remained a major issue when it comes
to... It's a major issue.
So what specific interventions is FRSC, taking to ensure that Lagos drivers are, adhering to the road rules and sticking to the speed limits?
This is one of it. This is one of it. Public enlightenment is one of it. If you realize, we've done quite a lot of things this Ember month. One of them is going to the parks to enlighten people. And then the Corps Marshal, Sheikh Mohammed Efesai Menace, introduced something beautiful this season. We call it town hall meetings, where we have to talk to people, the stakeholders, the road safety stakeholders, under the same canopy to make sure they understand our message. And then we are propagating that the passengers hold the drivers responsible for their reckless driving. So it's not just about drivers, as it used to be in those years. Now we are targeting the passengers. Let them speak out. We want them to speak out. In the Yoruba, we say sorosoke. You get? Okay, we say sorosoke, so that they can hold those drivers responsible for their reckless driving.
Right. And so, yesterday, I went my night crawling activities, and unfortunately, I had to turn back. You know what I mean? Just because all the IJGBs are back into our city, and they have covered our roads, every inch of our roads, and it's difficult to get to those parties like we normally do at the end of the, end of the year, because everyone is out there. And so when you get past the point where the traffic is at, it's like, are the evil spirits of the mayor of Lagos roads back? You know what I mean? But clearly, everyone is back in town. It can only make me imagine how your work is cut out for FRSC and all the other road officials. Talk to me about, the efforts being made, especially for this season with traffic.
Okay, the efforts we're making for this season is to bring all our tools, all our hands on deck, put everything in place to make sure that the roads are safe for people plying the Lagos roads. If I say Lagos citizens, I will be putting out the people who come here to do their daily businesses. So it's for everybody because Lagos is a commercial hub. So people come in and out of Lagos. So we're putting all our tools out, our vehicles, our tools, our devices, our staffs. We're bringing everybody out to make sure that, we put safety as a priority for everybody.
Now, in working and putting all of your team out, there's also issues that you might face. There's a video that we have we're going to roll of a certain lady who was, as you can see in the video, they're harassing an official in his line of doing his job. And what was interesting about this is it's actually at the premises of FRSC. And you can see her there asking him not to touch her car, and she's like manhandling this man there. Very interesting sights, and she's quite a strong woman, I would say. Giving him uppercuts to his face and blowing him at the face, and
I think uppercut is the word.
The uppercut is the word. She's giving him very nice right hooks on her hand there. UFC style, holding him by his shirt, his jersey. I mean, Mrs. Jayola, I have to ask you, right? Seeing this video, this is not in any way how to treat an official in uniform, no matter what the person's done to you, right? What are your thoughts on that video, and what is?
On this video, this is Lekki Command. It actually happened in Lekki Command, and I want to give it to that Marshal again, HN Saidi. He did well. His composure was out of this world. He was commended by the Corps Marshal and the Lagos State Sector Commander, Corps Commander Kehinde Amzat. He did very well. He did quite well. That lady didn't. She didn't do well at all. She didn't compose herself. She wants to know the funny thing. She was a passenger in that vehicle. She wasn't a driver. She was not the owner of that vehicle.
What?
Yes. The driver was stopped on the account of seatbelt violation and unavailability of valid driver's license, and then was impounded inside the premises of the Lekki Command. And then she went bizarre. It wasn't a vehicle. It belonged to another person she doesn't even know. And then she had to do this. So I said she didn't try at all. And this is just sending a message to everybody. Before we wore this uniform, we wear normal clothes too. We're humans, just in uniform. That's just the difference. We are part of the community. We are part of the larger audience of road safety. So as we are enlightening you, as we are trying to make you adhere to the traffic laws, we are also adhering to the same thing. We are enlightening ourselves. So it's not just a case of you being on the road. We also ply the road in our private vehicles, in our official vehicles. We walk, we are pedestrians as you. So if you look at it from the angle of officials, FRC officials, or even any law enforcement agents being in uniform, first of all, think about the fact that they are also human. The only difference between you and them at that point in time is they are wearing uniform. So pick that and act on that before you go to do something that will land you somewhere you don't want to be.
Right. Very interesting. That video was, I don't know, she had very mean right hooks. That's what, her right hooks were so, like, yeah, it was very nice. And she just kept going, don't mind me, I'm joking. You're watching Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. I'm Judith the TV. My guest today is Mrs. Elizabeth Jayola. She's the Enlightenment Officer for FRSC Lagos Chapter. And we're just talking about just basically the, tackling the growing crisis of accidents and just traffic as well. as the IJG visit. I just got back. Population of Lagos is back in town. Well, we're going to get back into this conversation, but first, Mazzino's on standby to bring you the breakfast headlines. Stay here. I said Mazzino, but unfortunately I'm taking the news. You're welcome to Breakfast Headlines. Let's begin by telling you that the People's Democratic Party has asked former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 presidential election on its platform. PDP's Deputy National Publicity Secretary Ibrahim Abdullahi made this known on Saturday. He emphasized that it would be a regrettable development if Jonathan chose another party for his presidential bid. Abdullahi revealed that the PDP had been eagerly awaiting the former president's return for a second term, stressing the party's continued connection to Jonathan's political rise. The PDP chief tent urged Jonathan to heed the call to finish what he started within the party and warned against the hypocrisy of the All Progressives Congress, APC. And let's head to Rivers State, where Senate President Godswill Akpabio has criticized Governor Siminalayi Fubara for his handling of the state's political crisis, which has placed him at odds with Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike, the Speaker, and the majority of State House of Assembly members, along with key stakeholders in the People's Democratic Party. Speaking as a special guest of honor at a public lecture and book launch in Port Harcourt to mark the FCT minister's 57th birthday, Akpabio stressed the importance of maintaining a strong working relationship with the legislature. He also recognized Martins Amawale as a legitimate Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly and reminded Fubara of the legislative arm's constitutional powers and influence. Community members in Sanga local government area of Kaduna State have been commended for the peaceful coexistence exhibited during their successful harvest season. The commendation was given by the commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, during the distribution of palliatives to community members in the area as part of the non-kinetic measures by the Nigerian military in ensuring sustainable peace in affected areas of the operations. Chizoba Aniowe was there for News Central and now tells us more. Take a look.
That was a show of appreciation from community members in Sanga local government area of Kaduna State after a heat-free harvest, as against what was recorded in past years, where herders and farmers usually engaged in violent clashes. The commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, had organized a seminar in May this year to sensitize stakeholders in the community on the need for peaceful coexistence and successful farming and harvest. General Abubakar was impressed with the outcome of the non-kinetic approach.
The fight against criminality is like a system that we all have a part to play and collectively fight against. I am glad to observe that we have derived the dividend of that seminar as clashes and farm destructions reduced by over 60% this year based on available statistics.
The army boss in the area reciprocated the show of excitement for the peaceful harvest by the distribution of these palliatives to 100 indigent members of the community. He said the move is hinged on sound administration through impactful welfare programs of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede.
This is our little way of encouraging the widows and those with physical challenges in Operation Safe Haven operating environment as part of our non-kinetic lines of operation. Furthermore, one of the elements of the command philosophy of our Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General O.O. Oluyede, Nigerian Army Medal, is hinged on sound administration through impactful welfare programs, which aptly aligns with this program today.
The 50 widows and 50 physically challenged persons, among others, who benefited from the Army's welfare package, expressed their gratitude.
We are now approaching the Christmas celebration. Up to now, I have not even single rice in my house. But today, I am going out with a 1 bag of rice.
We have bumper harvest in the local government. So, and we have peaceful coexistence in the entire local government. We are crisis-free in the local government. And alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Mun gode muku da abin da kuka yi mana, Allah ƙara mishi buɗe. Mun da mazajen mu sun mutu, mu taimake mu, mun gode wa Allah.
We are very grateful. We are calling on all of you, whenever you see us, please, we will solicit for your assistance.
Now, if this is a sign of bumper harvest in a crisis-free zone as a result of the non-kinetic measures put in place before the harvest, then who says more of this measure won't be needed as often as possible? From Sanga local government area of Kaduna State for News Central, Chizoba Anyomi.
The immediate past Deputy Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly, and that is Enema Paul, has passed on. The Speaker of the House, Aliyu Yusuf, confirmed Paul's death in a statement on Saturday through his Chief Press Secretary, Mohammed Yabagi. Paul passed away in a private Abuja hospital early Saturday morning after battling an undisclosed illness. Yusuf described Paul as a humble, team-playing lawmaker committed to unity and pro-people legislation for the state's development. He noted Paul's devotion to family values and godliness, commiserating with his family and colleagues. Paul, who represented Okura State constituency in the 8th Assembly, stepped down as Deputy Speaker due to health reasons and was succeeded by Comfort Mochiola of Ibaji State constituency. The Speaker prayed for strength and for all affected by the loss. And we move away from that now as this brings us to the very end of Breakfast Headlines for this time. We switch gears back to Breakfast Extra. I'm Judith TV. Stay here. And you're welcome back. We'll continue with our discussion about road safety challenges and just road accidents, curbing them as we get into the Yuletide season. And Mazzino is back, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. That was a very interesting conversation that was happening, and I couldn't wait to ask some questions.
I know.
Yeah, I was listening. Regarding the instance that was shown with the video of the individual whom you confirmed wasn't even the driver of the vehicle, was actually a passenger.
Concerned Samaritan.
Now, let's talk violations. Now, the vehicle was initially impounded because there was a seatbelt violation, or was it the license?
And a valid driver's license violation.
So it makes me wonder exactly what the penalties for specific violations are. For instance, in this case where the individual had a seatbelt violation, was that enough to have the vehicle impounded? So let's talk about that. Seatbelt violations would attract what kinds of punishment?
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you as an operational person now, not a public enlightenment person.
Right.
So when you're stopped on the road on an account of a violation, we expect you to have your valid licenses, whether your driver's license or your vehicle licenses, your vehicle licenses, your roadworthiness, your insurance, and all what. And when you do not have this, we do not have any other way to have it done other than to impound you, have you pay for your offense, and then you pick your car and you go. It's a simple arithmetic.
Okay.
You understand?
So in the situation where he might have had all these other documents, especially his license.
He's booked, he pays, he's booked, then we retrieve his licenses to the office. He pays, retrieves the license, and he goes.
So he wouldn't have, it wouldn't necessitate his car getting
impounded.
Okay.
Unless there are some offenses that would warrant your vehicles to be impounded. Like if your vehicle is overloaded.
Okay.
If you drive dangerously on the road, there's an offense we call dangerous driving. That's if you are speeding, if your vehicle is overloaded, you get to your vehicle gets to be impounded in the FRSC base, or if it's a joint operation where we do not have the FRSC base close to where we have the operation, we can have it impounded in a police base or another law enforcement agency base.
Facility. Okay, very interesting. What about the lady who was the passenger? What happened to her? Was she handed over to another authority, or
he has been waiting to ask that question?
She has been charged to court.
To court?
Yes, she has been charged to
Is it
court.
traffic court or proper court?
Her case has started since that issue, since the very day that issue started, and the FRC legal department have waded in. They are in charge of the case. As of yesterday, I heard that she called in to say she wants it to be settled out of
court,
but she went way beyond normal. So it's a case where we need to put her to serve as a deterrent to others who feel we are more of, we are trying to, I don't know, when people see us in uniform, I don't know what they see, but I want people to see us more as a partner in the road safety management, other than the way they see us, you know. So if they don't put her to book now, it demoralizes the staff, you know, not just the officer that was, other people too will feel, oh, if they do anything to me on the road, nothing is going to be done about it. So, you know, nobody is going to do it the way we want it to do. And when we don't do it the way we, the core wants us to do it, you don't get to enjoy what you get to enjoy on the road as of today.
So she serves as a cautionary tale. She's now going to serve as a cautionary tale to any offender who is thinking of giving right hook.
Judith,
Or
I
the
don't know if you...
uppercut, as you said.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
And UFC kicks as well.
That was, she probably had training. She probably had training.
She's going to represent Nigeria.
Let her represent Nigeria after now.
Ooh, so
Nigeria.
My next question is going to be a very personal one. Judith, I drive every morning coming to work, and I go through the mile to Clovers. However, now there is a different route now because the bridge over Second Rainbow has been opened. But every single morning I find the FRC agents actually doing their job. Congratulations to them because they do a fine job, and they do not even hinder traffic. They don't hinder traffic or anything. However, I find that their efforts are arbitrary. Okay, let's stop that one, or let's stop that, or are they not? Like, what exactly are they looking out for? Which vehicles are they stopping? How come they've never stopped me?
I find it very interesting. I remember I
have another question after this.
Yeah.
That's
why, because I was coming to stop your car because
I
stop another.
You don't, your lights are on, every other thing on your vehicles on your vehicle is, you know.
But they don't know this, but they never stop me. Please don't stop me now.
They have the trained eye.
See, we have been trained to do this job. Every officer you find on the road must have gone through trainings upon trainings upon trainings.
On how to identify.
We identify you on the road. Don't forget, like I said, I was an operational man before I became a full-fledged public enlightenment officer. We have the eyes to know something is wrong somewhere.
Is it my body language? Is it my vehicle?
Sometimes that may be, but there are some things we also look out for in your vehicle. If they are not there, then we get to stop.
What are these things?
Number one is you fiddling with your phone. You know, you're trying to, you know, fiddle and put it down, and then we sight you. We know you are fiddling with your phone. So when I stop you and you get to me and you tell me, oh no, the phone wanted to, and I just no. Some people will not even tell you Google Maps because, you know, my phone wanted to first. I wanted to pick it up, or somebody was calling me, so I was trying to call. No. You see, there's something I tell people about focusing on the road and then fiddling with your phone at the same time. Your brain can only function in a place per time. So these people have been trained to know this. So when you are, you know, fidgeting or fiddling with your phone and your fidget, we already know. You are not on your seatbelt, and immediately you sight a traffic agent, you want to quickly put it on. We sight that, we know that, we stop you. There are other things. There are people behind you who are looking at your vehicle from behind. You press on the brake, the light is not showing. We see that. We ask somebody in front to stop you. So there are so many ways. There are so many things that can be wrong with your vehicle that we stop you on. Then again, there's something I tell people about pre-trip maintenance of your vehicle. Before you go out of your house, check your vehicle. Your lights are on, this one is on, that one is, up to date, and you put your vehicle licenses, your driver license in your vehicle, they are up to date. You drive confidently. Some people ask that they give, why do you give if you don't have an offense? They stop you. Well, sometimes they don't even stop them.
You're already handing out something.
You're already handing out something. Why are you giving them? Now, they have the fault of collecting, right? But what have you done wrong to say, I want to bring out something?
Sometimes it might just be an inherent fear of the uniform, isn't it? It could be the
fear of FRSC is the beginning of...
Why are you afraid of the uniform? Why are you afraid of FRSC?
It's a conditioning.
We are there to manage your safety on that road.
Listen, anybody in a uniform in Nigeria deserves one's kind of... Even vulcanizers now, the one with uniform.
You will agree with me. You will agree with me that when it comes to the case of FRSC, Federal Road Safety Corps, anywhere, not just in Lagos State, top notch.
Mr.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. I agree to disagree.
Thank you.
Your job is done.
Okay, let me hear you.
Dr. Jayola, speaking of people who are road offenders and then they don't go scot-free, I would say there's a group that we're not putting in this conversation.
Okay, group of
the public transport, the operators, the keke, the kurupe,
anything yellow,
with black stripe that's in Lagos. This thing does not have roadworthiness. It should not be on the road at any section.
They don't get stopped.
But they don't get stopped. In fact, it's almost as if they have immunity.
Judith, you follow me to the office tomorrow.
Okay.
They get stopped on a daily basis. But you agree that the numbers of this yellow transport system we have in Nigeria, I don't want to say buses because there are so many of them in groups.
Contraptions.
That we have in Nigeria are quite
a lot.
And I'm in Ogudu,
traffic.
I'm in Ogudu or I'm in Ojodu, you are on the island. I can't be here and be there at the same time. Though we have a command there, but they are stationed here, they can't be where you are at the point when you see that. Now, we have been calling for people to collaborate with us. Let's do this road safety thing. It's not a one-man, one-agency thing. You collaborate with us, come in as special marshal members, come in as collaborator. As a common, you can also collaborate with us on so many things. New Central is collaborating with us on media, and that's why we're propagating this outside. And I'll say kudos to that. Do you understand? So every other person too needs to join hands with FRSC. It's not a day thing. It's not something that we can say, okay, we are going to finish it up in one day. We all know how we are. As Nigerians, we know who we are. We all know how we are. So it's not a job we can finish in one day. But when you come hand in hand with me, as you and Judith have come hand in hand with us now, we are going to do this.
My own is that one that likes blocking the road at Ojota. They should put
which one?
Because when, I don't know, the Kuruke and the Pepe, whenever Kuruke and the yellow buses, whenever they're trying to get their passengers, right? You see them, the
what
exit
side
from
of Ojota?
The other side. Look,
the Ogudu.
The Ogudu end, when you're trying to come out onto the road itself, they are just littered. It's like, leave the road. You know, I mean, you're honking.
Second there, I thought you were going to use a word I wasn't going to be able to defend. Leave the... Okay, thank goodness.
We're moving there.
Judith, I think you should take her offer because she said you would come with her to work one of these days. And this is, I'm also hoping that Matthew...
don't shift it to
this is to our producers. Matthew, Maver, and Collins, we have been extended an invitation. We have to go. And I'm hoping that we could serve as special marshals sometime and see what exactly happens.
New Central can actually come together and then we have a unit in New Central.
I hope I get a uniform.
I don't like sun. I'm not going to be under sun.
So that's a week.
You will not go black in one day.
I'm not going to...
Calm down.
Would be in uniforms.
I'm not black.
And would help with operations like you guys. Is that fair? I'm saying would be in uniforms and would come one day and see what it's like, the life of an FRSC officer
for one day. So coming together here, you will understand how it is.
I accept your invitation.
I want a wider brim hat too. I don't want to.
She's worried about the fashion.
Anyway,
ladies,
Marshall, you'll be wearing a blue regalia, not this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us through this session, and thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you
so much. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you.
Do stay tuned. We have one more very interesting conversation to go, and it's on health. You'd find this one interesting. Stay tuned.
And you're welcome. It's time for us to get into our Wellness Central. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on a lesser-known but significant learning disorder. It's called dyscalculia. Often described as math dyslexia, dyscalculia affects an individual's ability to understand numbers, learn arithmetic, and perform mathematical tasks. While many people struggle with math, for individuals with dyscalculia, it's a persistent difficulty that goes beyond a lack of effort or practice. Now, despite its impact, this condition is often overlooked or misunderstood, leaving many children and adults without the support they need to thrive academically and socially.
So today we're joined by Dr. Chibuike Aigbe, convener of the Lord Spectrum, to help us better understand what dyscalculia is and how we can support those affected. Now, Dr. Chibuike, you're welcome. But first, I must also tell our viewers that there is a reason why this came to note. Because during the week, there was a very interesting piece of social media fodder that went very viral. I'm going to save that until the middle of our questioning or interaction with Dr. Chibuike before we play it. Dr. Chibuike, first off, let's have a full definition of what dyscalculia is and how it relates to dyslexia, which we had spoken on this show, on this platform, about from before.
It's one of this. So first and foremost, thanks for inviting me and having me here.
Thank you for coming on.
Dyscalculia is one of the very commonest, one of the common learning disabilities. It's second, very close to dyslexia, which is the inability or difficulty in reading. And then there's dyscalculia, where there's difficulty in understanding and solving math problems. And then very closely, another common learning disability is dysgraphia, difficulty in writing. So those are the three common learning disabilities. There are others, but yes, so dyscalculia that we're talking about today is difficulty in understanding math and mathematical problems.
Okay, so this would also mean that it is difficult to identify numbers, especially when they're drawn out and not written out in words. Am I correct?
Very correct. So in the staging or in identifying children or even adults who have dyscalculia, you know, for children, they can't even mathematical symbols like the plus sign, is difficult to identify, difficult to understand. Simple math problems, 2 + 2, 1 + 1, writing the figures. Even in kids, they can't write, they can't recognize the figures, and they can't even count upward. Okay, in kids in primary school, middle school, preteens, they can't count backwards. They can't memorize simple formulas. They can't also read and understand math problems, which, you know, like if you're writing common entrance, that's very important for you to do. And even in adults, so adults can't, they can't abstractly understand or quantify numbers. So if you say, give me a cup of Gary, they really can't measure what a cup of Gary is. They might end up giving you like a paint bucket of Gary, for example. You know, so those are the signs that are imminent in people who have dyscalculia.
So now that we have defined what it is, I would like you to please tell us, we're about to play a clip. I need you to tell us whether this could be considered a case of dyscalculia. And then after that, maybe proceed to telling us why it is such a struggle with this individual. So if we can have that video of the governor of Edo State right now to, well, buttress our point from what we're saying. Let's play this.
Edo State 2025 appropriation bill of 605 billion 76 million 76, let me take it again, 506 billion 605 billion, sorry, 776 billion, sorry, it's confusing me. Sorry. Since
order in the house, please. Mr. Speaker must be held in silence, please.
605 billion and details of the budget proposal for your consideration and approval. Thank you for your kind consideration.
So, Dr. Chibuki, that wasn't the only video we wanted to show. So we took that figure and then we took it to the streets where we asked people what it was, and this was what we came up with.
605 billion, 23 million, 500,000, 326. 605 billion, 23 million, 500,000, 326.
605 billion. 200. Oh, more. Bro, I don't know how much. Start. I don't know how. But a billion did there. A billion. I try now.
705 billion, 423 million, 500,000, 326 naira.
605 billion naira, 76 million, 65,857 naira, 34 kobo.
605 billion and 76 million and 65,000 and 857 naira and 34 kobo.
605 million, 706,000, 605 billion, 706 million, 605,857 naira 34 kobo.
600 billion. This is 605 billion.
Try.
Okay. 6 billion. 605 billion. 106. 600 billion. 767,000 million.
Okay. 605 billion. 76 million, 65,857 naira 34 kobo.
All right, that's great. I done mine already in the morning. So, Judith, it's your turn.
Of course, I know it now.
Here we go.
I know it now.
Let's have it.
605 billion, 76 million, 65,857 naira, 34 kobo.
She had practice.
And I had practice. So, I mean, look, there's always an argument about whether or not Nigerians have an issue with numbers. We always spew out numbers which is interesting, right? So, looking at that video and looking at the cross-section of our interviewees, one has to ask the question, is it an anxiety issue? Is this a cultural norm that we actually don't have a concept of numbers? Or is this a rampant case of dyscalculia? Dr. Chibuki.
So the first video, it's very possible that the governor of Edo State has or may have dyscalculia. However, one video is not enough for us to clinch a diagnosis.
Right.
I mean, there could be a number of reasons. He could have had a bad day. He could have whatever it is. I don't think that's enough for us to clinch a diagnosis of dyscalculia. However, seeing the other video, off the top of my head, I would blame a very poor education system because we try a wide, number of people, and just a handful got it. So yes, there's a place for anxiety, there's a place for poor education, and of course, dyscalculia. So one video is not enough, but it was quite disappointing having seen that video.
And disappointing for seeing that video, also concerning to see a public official not being able to reel out the budget numbers that he was presenting to the House, which is for the people of his constituency. And so, as a parent watching this, you reeled out that sometimes they're able to not identify the numbers. They don't know, multiplication signs or even mathematics signs. They can mistake numbers. Just really the skills and the tools that they need to learn math is an issue. As a parent watching this, what am I supposed to be looking at? And how best can I diagnose this? Or what should I be concerned about to bring them to specialists? And who am I going to?
Where?
Where do I even go to?
I'm so thankful for programs like this because not everything is Olodo. We're very, very easy to turn people Olodo in this side of the world, and I've never really been able to understand why. My inability to understand simple math problems doesn't necessarily mean that I am dull. It's just a learning disability, so I need to be assisted to learn. Having said that, 1/3 of people who have dyscalculia can only just have problems with math, but another 2/3 have a comorbidity, which is this dyslexia I had spoken about, which is the disability to read and recognize letters, confused letters like D and B, and things like that. So it's important as a parent, if you see your child with any disability, you need to speak, first and foremost, you need to monitor your child. If you have one child, monitor that child. Second child, go through their results, go through their homework with them, discuss, concerns with their teachers, with their principal, and put in more efforts where the child has difficulties learning. If your child is, despite all your own personal efforts and the school efforts, then you need to speak with a doctor, a developmental specialist, a psychiatrist, or an ABA specialist. These are people that's ABA, applied behavioral analysis therapists or specialists. These are people who can help break down learning as a whole into smaller bits that is easy for the child to assimilate and learn, and teach the child other ways to go about their daily tasks, because whether we like it or not, education is to help us with our daily tasks first of all. So if like I had mentioned, how adults are unable to quantify certain volumes, for example, maybe when they're baking or they're cooking, is to teach the child, okay, this is what this visibly looks like. This is what 1 teaspoon looks like. This is what 1 derica of rice looks like. And then, you just try to monitor progress and record this progress.
Okay. Dr. Chibuki, could it also have been a case of anxiety in the case of the Edo State governor? Because perhaps maybe it was the first. Go ahead.
It's difficult to say. I mean, we don't know what happened before. We don't know what happened prior. Maybe that was not the figure he had written, and now he's presenting. It's really difficult to say from a very short video. It is embarrassing, like I had mentioned, but that has happened. Let's see how he presents other figures.
Okay.
And I think, as an advice, I would advise that they write words and figures. Like I said, your inability to recognize numbers doesn't really necessarily make you intellectually slower than the others.
Right. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because when I was watching it, I kept wondering, why did they not put it in full words? You know what I mean? Because even when you go to the bank, back in those days, and you're filling out the bank draft, there's always a part for you to fill out the numbers in words, So I was like, why didn't, this is as simple as ABCD. He was kind of getting it right, and then after a while, he just, stumbled, and it just made a mess of everything and ended up at, 705 billion. And
that's why I thought the anxiety, perhaps.
So that's why I think, yeah.
To add to that, even though it was anxiety, there are some certain skills we must possess as we move along our career, maybe as public speakers or not even public speakers, and that's why people join debating club, debating and literary club, all those things. They set you up not necessarily for public speaking, but for you to be able to articulate your thoughts.
Right.
And because we never know where even though I'm a medical doctor, I'm here, I'm speaking, I have been able to learn this as an additional skill. So it's also important that we should improve ourselves as we go along, because who knows, I might be the governor.
So I hear you there. There is a place for active learning oratory skills, and especially in public, especially for people who believe that they're going to be using this to serve people and so on and so forth. However, how responsible are we as caregivers, parents, or teachers when it comes to dyscalculia? Are we stressing children too much? Are we making them hate math? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, very correct, because my fear of math came from my parents.
Math teacher, actually, Mr.
My
Okeke.
fear of math came from my father and then my math teacher.
Mr. Okeke, if he's listening, I love you, but you scared me.
Yeah, they scared us. There was a lot of
whose
fear.
fault is it?
I must mention that there is a familial responsibility, genetic, responsibility in how you having dyscalculia or any of the other learning disabilities. So it is very familiar. So yes, there's your genes that you cannot change. You cannot, there are non-modifiable factors. However, yes, our educational system might be creating some sort of aversion to mathematics and mathematical problems. And I say this because I have a 4-year-old who can write 1 to 200, and I'm like, okay, hope this is not going to stress this child. And I have her counterpart in the United States is just learning 1 to 5, learning to write 1 to 5. So it's important that our educational system makes learning fun. So yes, my child can write 1 to 4, but I know that learning that 1 to 4 was actually made fun. It wasn't you must know it. In primary school, how we learned 2 times table was 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times 3, it became a song, right?
Yes.
But I know that how they teach them now is a little different. In fact, even simple math problems, you ask my daughter 10 over 4, and she'll tell you 10 on my head, 4 on my hand. And she says 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not how we were taught. Do you understand? So it's important that we teach children, you make them healthy habits, healthy learning habits, so that they don't form an aversion to mathematics or any other subject.
And what about adults who already have this condition? What can they do now?
First and foremost, you must self-improve. You must code yourself first. It's very important to learn how to first identify that you have a problem and know how to manage your problem so that it's not exposed to the world. Just like, for example, if the Edo State governor does have dyscalculia, then his team should know that and know that next time you write in words and figures, for example. Again, it's important that you self-improve yourself, look for cues, look for easier ways to, I remember, for example, for people who have dyslexia, right, they can't tell left and right. So some people mark themselves. I'm not an advocate for self-harming, but I don't mean permanent marks. You can write L on one hand, you can write R on one hand. So cues are very important for you to develop as you move along.
Interesting. And really, I mean, this has been a very, very, very insightful discussion, I must say, Doctor. But if someone is watching this and they're looking at this and it's like, wait, I think that I do have the dyscalculia, what would be the very first step for them? The very first step?
Seek help from a medical doctor. There are groups. Can we hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Okay. So there are support groups that, you can meet people who are having similar experiences such as you. You can encourage yourselves, join one, find one near you and encourage yourselves. Also speak to a professional, okay? And peradventure, you don't even have dyscalculia. Maybe you had very poor learning efforts as you were growing up. It's important that you seek to educate yourself as an adult.
I mean, Doctor, this has been sublime. I want to say thank you so much for taking out the time this morning to join us and just shedding light on dyscalculia. It seems like a word that I've never seen before, interesting enough, but all of a sudden I'm like, what the?
It's the Dracula word.
It's like a Dracula, dyslexia.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been wonderful. We appreciate you for coming on and just giving us a great understanding. And we do hope that individuals who have this can go to the right support systems and just parents also be on alert as well as educators and guardians. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chibuki. And we'd like to say thank you to our viewers as well. If you or someone you know struggles with math in a way that feels overwhelming and persistent, don't hesitate to seek help like Dr. Chibuki has just suggested. Awareness is the first step. towards finding solutions.
Oh, yes,
That's
indeed.
how we say our goodbyes, isn't it? What a weekend.
Oh, what a weekend it's been. I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us from Saturday down to this very second. Join us next weekend, Saturday 8 a.m. in the morning. For now, it's goodbye.